I'm going to showcase one of my favorite features of Msty, which is the autoresponder. But before I show you exactly what that looks like for this demo, I want to give a little bit of setup. So I'm going to first go over to the toolbox. And then in the toolbox, I already have this tool that is added. And essentially what this is this tool connects to an API, which is called CourtListener. And essentially what I'm going to do is create a persona that is able to leverage this tool, and then it's going to use that API to check citations. Let's go out of this and then over to personas, and it's going to make a little more sense, I think, if I show the persona. So I have this persona here, which is called my paralegal, and its job, its function, is to look at this conversation I'm having with a model, and then parse that conversation, look for any legal citations that are displayed, and then pass those legal citations off to CourtListener and see if they are valid citations or if they are not. And since that's the job of the persona, I want that persona to have access to that tool. So at the very bottom under add-ons, we can see that I'm using Gemini 2.0 for this persona to leverage. And then for the tool, we'll click on the toolbox icon and then select legal verification. So now this persona is going to have access to that tool. So I'm going to save that out and then close this out. And where this really all comes to fruition is in this chat window right here. If I click on the app button and then click on my paralegal to select that persona, what we see here is a couple options. I could click the up arrow to send the prompt off to the model. We have this context message count, which essentially, if you don't do anything to it, it's going to leave all the messages as context that's sent off to the model. But you could reduce this down to one, let's say, if you just wanted the prior message only to be sent as context. We'll just leave that as is. And then the autoresponder, that is this button right here. So if we select that and it turns blue, that means it's on. And this is the cool part. I have a couple famous US case studies that I'm going to chat with my model here and ask it questions about it. The first one being, let's see, tell me about Mikola versus Maryland and cite sources. Okay, so we see that I have O4 Mini as my main model. So I asked that to O4 Mini, and it's going to provide me some details about that court case. Okay, and we see some details here, and then within it, it looks like there's probably some citations. And so now what the autoresponder is doing is it's looking through this response, and it knows to verify these sources against CourtListener. And so we see it just that. It just verified Mikola versus Maryland and verified that it was accurate. And let's say now we want to go to a different famous court case. All right, so tell me about Gibbons versus Ogden and provide citations. Okay, so once again, it's going to O4 Mini. O4 Mini is getting the information to respond back to me. And once again, there's some court cases in here, some sources, Gibbons versus Ogden. But then my paralegal persona using Gemini went back through this, and let's see if it saw any citations to check. And it looks like it stopped, so let's see if we could continue the generation. Okay, and then after I continued the generation, it found a couple sources. Let's see, the Gibbons right here. And it looks like it matches. And then this one as well. Okay, so it just verified those two citations that were provided by the prior model. So you can see how this autoresponder persona could come in handy. It's kind of like someone that's just commentating on something that it is watching, right? So it's not actively participating in the conversation, but it's listening to it, it's taking notes, and in this case, it's verifying if the facts of these different citations are indeed accurate or not. So again, so many different use cases that you could use this for. And on top of all that, with the context messages right here, again, you're basically just saying, just refer to the last message or the last two messages. If you leave it blank, it's referring to all the messages, but maybe within all the messages, there's one or two sporadic ones that you want to leave out of the context chain. So what you can do for that is, let's just say it's this one right here. Click on the extra actions icon right there, and then click on isolate context. And then you'll see isolated context show up in the top right. What this is doing is with the context that's being sent to the model, Usually it's basically your whole history that's being sent to the model unless you configure it otherwise. Yet in this case, it's excluding this particular message from being included in that context. And if you ever want to re-include it back into the context, all you would need to do is click on the More Actions icon again, and then remove the context isolation. Or another way to do it is in the very top right of the conversation window, click on the ellipses, and then you could click on Clear All Context Isolations, and that's going to bring them all back into context. All right, and that is the autoresponder and context isolation.